Morning, man, behind the scenes. What did you do to my new machine?
What I do, I took the weekend off like you should have.
Well, I should have taken the weekend off because you see where we're at.
Yeah, it wasn't like that Friday.
Well, they've already seen the video. They know what happened. You're just late to the party. So, all right, we got our dealer Diamond up here. We got Mr. Hyundai here is what I'm gonna call him, John Wise. He's been in a few videos in the past. We're gonna do some fine tuning on this machine this morning.
Yeah.
All right, John, first thing I want to cover is I want to get your take. I gave them a brief description of the difference between a 210 a 235. You want to give them a little more technical?
Well, 235, obviously, you're going to be zero swing, a little heavier machine, a lot more power, I would tell you right out of the get-go. Not crazy amount, but just a lot of power in a compact machine. So that's why it's a very popular machine.
And this is this the 220 is probably the most popular size?
220 right now is the most popular size. And again, I think you got a 210.
Right.
The 210, you got the smaller engine.
Right.
And a little less counterweight. So that's why the 220 has become popular. Just price-wise, it just makes sense.
For the record, I did love my 210. I hope I don't miss it. It was a good machine, John. I don't regret any decisions made there. So,
you know, it's preference, right?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So again,
well, and that's a good thing to bring up because and we're going to cover this here in a little bit. You got to know what machine you need for your application, because for a different application, the 220 would most likely be a better fit.
100%, because again, you get that machine, maybe it's lighter, you have to track it around or it's like that. Trucking's an issue.
Trucking is the big thing for us.
Zero swing on this now, but the trucking changes, right? When you go to this machine.
Well, so that was my exact thought whenever I bought the 210, was the trucking concern. But after owning the 210, I realized we didn't use it as much as what we did because we couldn't fit in certain places. So my trucking was the concern, now the fit is the bigger concern.
Well, every owner, you could have, if you could, for every job, you'd have the right machine, but sometimes you have to use it in a couple of different ways.
I'd have one of each if I could. So, all right, we'll hit the highlights on this thing.
So just on the service, I'm going to give you a kind of service overview. So on normal machines, usually you'll see our main control valve will be in the center of the machine. Because of zero compact, they've moved up here forward. As a service guy, it's kind of nice because you pull that cover, everything's right there. All right, your def tank, def head, pilot system, your change valve is right here.
So this is your pattern changer?
Yeah, pattern change, right? And for when you're setting up a machine like today, Diamond Equipment did a great job setting up on a PDI, but when we do PDIs, we check port reliefs, main reliefs. On this one here, they actually, if you come right around here, they make it real easy for you. At least I give you the mechanics for it. And this side panel comes off.
Oh, so you can access it from both sides.
Both sides, but right here is your adjustment, your main relief. So it's really nice. Again, you know, you're not hanging upside the old control valves.
Yep.
You'd be hanging upside down trying to break that free, and it was cumbersome. So again, they've kind of put some thought into it on the service side as well. So if you ever have to do general maintenance or anything like that, it's really nice. Okay?
So you guys can go back and watch my videos with Hyundai from the very, very beginning, which is almost 5 years ago. Whenever I seen the Hyundai at a trade show, the very first thing that caught my eye was whenever I started opening panels, I seen stuff like this. If we walk back around over here, you guys still got all the electrical connectors are labeled, all the hoses are labeled, part number, everything. Which from a service standpoint, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, if you're a guy who likes to do your own work, I mean, our service manuals, I've been in OEM, I've been a mechanic in the field forever. Really user-friendly. I mean, if you know nothing about hydraulics, you go into our service manuals and structure and function. It just, you'll walk out like just had a hydraulic education.
Right.
So it's really, really nice. Troubleshooting's really easy. If you come around this side.
One other change that I've noticed is they've actually got the fluid level in the def tank right here, so as you're filling it up, you don't have to check it from the cab.
Actually, so that's something they added. That was a nice change.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also it's a little more protected than the older machines. I think it's everything in here. It's protected well, but it's accessible. You know, it's doing its job, so it's nice. You come back over here. So this is the mechanic's nightmare, because compact radius, everything's bunched in here, and it's tight. But one thing we do, there's your filters right there, okay? Your test ports are accessible, is your pilot pump.
Right there.
Okay. Your pilot filter is probably the only one that's a little hard to get. It's down there.
You guys can see it right back there.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, but
the pilot filter is not one you change on a regular interval.
no, it's not when you change the regular interval. And actually going back to that with DEF systems, I'm going to give my little DEF spiel real quick because I think it's very important operators to know. All right.
Okay.
Cummins and a lot of people have done a lot of research on DEF, and people say, oh, I put good quality DEF. DEF fluid, if it's left out in the sun, it goes bad. When the guy goes, oh, I put my refractor to it, the DEF quality is good, it's not necessarily about the DEF quality than what's in the goddamn tank. It's a caustic. So like Cummins did some testing, they actually found the little plastic caps that are on the jugs.
Oh, yeah.
Deteriorated away, and what happens is in even dirt, it turns into a fine silt and ends up plugging your DEF filter. We're factory recommend. We recommend at 4,000 hours to replace the DEF filter. I'm telling all my technicians at 1,000 hour service, replace it. It's just like, you know, the old days. Guy has a machine he's run for 10 years, and then some young kid gets in it, runs out of fuel, wipes out the, you know, the injector pump and everything else because he sucks up all the dirt in the bottom.
Off the bottom.
That's something, and you know, if you run it out of DEF, you never want to run any DEF below 30%. And if you said you didn't know, we've got a gauge, an alarm, everything but that Acme Bugs Bunny hammer that comes out and smacks you and tells you you're low on DEF.
That's the big thing, and I've only owned one DEF machine, but that's the big thing I've always been told is maintain at least a third of a tank.
And listen, I don't blame operators because you're all your life as an operator. Fuel, oil, grease the machine,
right?
And everybody does a good job. It's one more thing. Another thing about Hyundai, very big on, like, the coolers are accessible because what happens? All that crap gets in there. Again, I'd like to tell you, every guy goes in there with a pressure washer. We'll have to see after Mike goes on the field the first time how clean these things look, but that's all another conversation.
Hey, the one I returned back looked pretty similar to that.
Air filter, your disconnect switch, fuses are accessible. Batteries aren't too bad. I mean, it looks a little tight, but again, anytime you get into compacts,
radius,
you're giving it up, man.
Right.
I mean, as all technicians will look at, they'd be like, oh my God, I got to work on a compact. So you know you got to squeeze yourself in. And I used to be a skinnier man, so I could get in there, but I can't do it anymore. So we're gonna jump in the cab real quick.
All right.
All right. So starting off, one of the things some people might not tell you, your salesman or whoever, our machines are application and operator preference. We have a lot of adjustments. So if someone just sets your machine up to 11 or cranks everything up, it's not necessarily what you need. And let's be honest, every operator works differently, right?
So this is, I think this is an important message here, and I think this could be applied as a blanket over almost the whole industry with these new machines. If you hop in a machine that's a newer machine with a monitor in and start yanking on levers and you don't like the way they operate, that don't mean you can't tune that machine to the way you want it, because the way I like to operate, the way Aaron likes to operate, and the way John likes to operate might be three different ways, and we can all three get what we want out of the same machine, which is the advantage of all this adjustability. But the disadvantage is people are kind of used to the old school. If it is what it is, you got what you got.
Well, so old school, it didn't matter. Your boss would say, that's the way a machine, it goes forward, back, and digs a hole.
Right.
One of the things Hyundai's done is because there are a lack of good operators out there. That's why these features exist, right? Because, so initially here, we're going to go into menu, okay? We're going to hit mode. And so obviously work power mode, we're in crusher. And as all of our stuff, you have a list: breaker, crusher, lifting mode. Now lifting mode, there's a nice feature for somebody who isn't an experienced operator. You're laying pipe or anything like that. What does lifting mode do? Right now, if I actually just, with this machine running in power mode, and I push these sticks forward, everything, all hell will break loose. If you put it in lifting mode, what it does is it slows everything down on arm and boom and balances it out. So if you did that, you actually will see a nice smooth transition. And
they move proportionally.
Yeah, a kid could be just out of high school and go, oh, that kid really knows what he's doing, right? Like, it's very, very nice, okay? So, again, some of it's good. And then, like I said, if we're going into, like, breaker, we can set our flows, our pressure relief. And then if you go into, like, breaker, you can go into settings. You can put a different setting, like Mike here has thumb, okay? He has a separate setting, but if you have multiple tools, you can actually set all the tools to what pressures you want, and just as the operator goes in, he can pick and choose what he wants.
So for an example, right now we are operating the thumb. But eventually we're going to have our AMI tilt bucket on here, so we can go in and pre-program the settings in it, which is going to turn the flow down, turn the relief down, because we don't need near the power, and we don't need near the speed.
Right. The program will actually change. That's that when you're talking about the electronic proportional pressure reliefs. Okay, those are also a backup that we go in the background and we adjust the relief pressures and everything else. So everything is set here and set there. So we're covered on the relief side. You know, you put a thumb on, it's supposed to be around 2,500, 2,300 psi, and guys crank them up to 4,000 and then you bend the thumb, right? So that's not what we want to do. So, so I guess you know, I'm gonna go over U-Power mode. We might as well. We're here, right? So you hit user and U-Power mode. So U-Power mode, and this has the dirt perfect setting on, everything set to max. So if you're in user mode, you can actually get the most out of this machine. RPM, power shift, you're stroking the pump, a little more flow of the pump. I never really touched the idle speed, but and the other thing is, if you someone that says, hey, I like the machine in power and I like the machine in standard, you can actually dial this in for you. That's why they call it user mode. You can set yourself to whether you like the machine, how much power, how much speed, what kind of RPM. You know, is power too much and standard too little, and you want to be hit somewhere in the middle? You can set that RPM. See the engine speed right now, we're up. We can kind of bring it down a little bit. You can hear we're going to jump a little bit. Try to go down a little more.
So Hyundai is just like a lot of their machines on the market. It has multiple different preset standards. On this machine, it's economy, standard, and power, which is basically 3 different levels. But the user mode basically gives you an option to customize one just for you, and it could be somewhere in the middle of all 3 of those.
Yeah, and I guess so. Power mode, you're looking at like 1,800 RPMs, right? And then all the other modes differ from 200 RPMs from there. And different size machines, you get a little bit more. So it varies, but in here, we could actually go.
Right.
All right, and hit OK, we're at 2,000. We gained an extra 200, right? So we went from 1,800 to 2,000. So I kind of look at it as, let's say you're digging a house foundation, you got a great big boulder you got to pull out of there. You want a little extra oomph out of the machine? Jump in user mode, crank the machine up a little bit. Give yourself a little more flow, give yourself a little more RPM. It'll help you out. Okay, but again, I think one of the mistakes I find when I'm showing guys is they're thinking about turning everything up to 11. I mean, that's the problem. So I guess where people get lost is we have a lot of settings. Everybody goes, oh, you know, Freebird, crank it, right? You know, everything's cranked up to the max. That's not necessarily the purpose of all this. And as we get into this, you're going to see it. I'm going to jump out of U-Power for a sec. And then combination speed settings. So I would tell you, this is the most misunderstood one ever. So load sensitivity, all right, you're going to change from low to high load sensitivity, all right. And again, I initially, unless you need it, I usually set it at the very lowest, okay, because you're not really, I guess if you're moving pipe or something like that, there may be the scenario for it, but I'm not really actually a big fan of it, I'll be honest with you, but that's just a whole other thing. Trucking balance. So here's the mistake. Trucking balance. See, you see swing and boom. And everybody goes, I need more. And they go this way. Now you went this way towards boom. So
you just killed your swing.
You killed your swing. And then they call up and say, I got no swing. Or you went this way, I got no boom. Right in the middle, okay? Unless you work, like it goes back to the operator. He might be more boom, doesn't care about the swing. You're gonna see it. See how we see it? These ones, the highest level, or the far over level is level 10. And I guess that's where the confusion is, because if we went in this and hit level 10, actually right. Level 10 means more, but it should be a little bit different, and we apologize for that. But again, in the middle is balancing everything out. Arm speed enable, all right? So remember, every time you do something, and I guess if you came to me and you were, the first thing I would ask you, have you ever been one of our machines before? Everybody wants to be in power mode, cranked up to 11, but there are the times that you should be in eco mode or standard mode, especially again, let's go back to new operators. A new operator shouldn't necessarily jump in and be in power mode. He should be in a controllable setting, RPMs, speed, everything else like that, so he can get comfortable with the machine. And then you kind of
even us with the other machine, there is times whether we were trying to do some fine-tune grade or setting retaining wall blocks or We were doing some tedious digging in town. There's times I still go back to eco mode.
100%, 100%. And I think people make a mistake of just ignoring it, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no, it's a tool in the toolbox. You got to use it.
But every time you take, so like just like we were talking about, we have swing and boom and arm and boom, and you take one away, you enable arm speed. So if I initially showed you this machine, I would shut that off. And just so you start out, like you should start out the machine with everything off, see what you like, and then work your way up. Once you crank everything up, you're always robbing Peter to pay Paul with this setup. Again, it's designed to work a certain way, and it works great. Where it doesn't work great is if everybody goes one way and not the other, and then something gets lost in the mix here.
Right.
Okay. So auto power boost, and I don't know if anybody knows that. So auto power boost is what pretty much for breakout force. Your trigger here, we usually enable it. I guess I'm not an operator on a day-to-day basis, so I would ask if you use it a lot.
We use it occasionally, and a lot of the times it's just like down there, for example, we didn't get on video, but if you're pulling a stump out and it's like that close to coming and you just need a little extra, or I'll tell you where I use it a lot of the times if you're trying to load something heavy into a truck.
Yep.
You just can't quite get it heavy enough or high enough because you lose hydraulic leverage once you get the boom up so high. It'll give you just enough to clear the backside of a truck. It's not nothing I use on a regular basis, but it's nice to know if it's there. If you're an operator, you pretty much know if that's going to be enough to get it done, or if you need to get a different grip or a different position on it.
So the way it works is when you activate that button for 8 seconds, everything at that bucket and arm. So everything else is bye-byes. For 8 seconds, you get all the power you need right there. So again, there's even a separate valve section for it. It's set at a higher relief level. So again, they're thinking probably breakout force, so that's stump or rock. That's the perfect scenario for you.
Right.
I don't think you'd be hitting it every time you're digging into dirt or anything like that, because that's just be cumbersome. But I leave it. It's one of those ones I leave enabled. So power shift. What that does is give you an extra 100 RPMs. So in standard mode, you know, let's say you're at 1800 or you're at 1600 in standard. If you left it at standard, that's where you go. In option, it's going to bump you up 100. So again, dirt perfect. We like everything fast and loose, baby. So it's an option. So one-way pump acting. So basically, if you activate both pumps, it's not going to bring that second pump in unless the system requires it. So we don't have an attachment. We have a thumb. We have a bucket. It's rarely going to call a second pump in. But if we had like a tree grinder here on this, you would want this activated, especially when you're multi-functioning. So, and there'll be a little alarm. If we hit this, it'll say no attachment supported for this particular to be on 1 or 2 pumps. So again, technically you could always leave it in 2 pumps, because again, it's only going to call for the second pump if it requires it, right? So EPPR, so electronic proportional pressure relief. We use it both for flow and relief. So you have attachment 1 and attachment 2. So attachment 1 is your breaker circuit. Attachment 2 is your rotation circuit.
So let's cover the power plant in this thing real quick. 6.7 liter Cummins.
Yep. Serviceable. Yeah, let me shut this off so we can talk. So tried and true engine, been around with us forever. Has a serviceable DPF, which is nice. Okay, so if you do have that machine that just as it gets on in age, you can just pop the clamps, pull the section out, go down to your local truck place or equipment dealer, have it clean, pop it back in, good to go.
And this machine's tuned to about 210 horse in this machine, correct?
Yes, sir. So
well, John, I think the only thing left to do is see if our settings worked and put this thing in the dirt.
I think so, sir.
Let's do it.
All right, you gonna...
might have to do favorite machine, man.
Oh, yeah.
I think it showed up on camera. I will point out that's a hickory tree. That's one of the toughest
that
trees
is
right
a
here
tough
we get
tree.
out. But the only complaint I had about the 210 is the speed, and this one's got it.
It's got it. It does have the speed.
Does it show up on camera?
Well, I don't know. I was trying to watch it in real life, not through the camera, but I think it showed up.
And it's controllable.
Yeah.
It's controllable.
Oh, it looked like it'd get away from me.
I like it. I don't know if you're gonna like it. It might be
a little too fast for me.
You can get in the case and turn it down, but it has so I'm running in power settings, but if you go down to just hit the button down to E, it slows everything down about 20%. So I
could run it too then.
Yeah, I think so. All right. One last thing. We got a big old rock up there. Should we go pick it up?
Let's see if it'll pick it up. Yeah.
All right, man, behind the scenes, the Hyundai guys, the Diamond guys are gone.
They left, yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, that's a whole new machine.
Yeah.
We got her tuned up and ready to go.
Yeah.
All right, we are back to a slight rescue mission here.
Yeah, rescue mission.
Here's the deal. All of our job sites are flooded out. The water's coming up higher than what they predicted the other day. And we need something to do.
Yeah.
And that something to do is over the hill.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go.
Flood threat.
Well, it's actually up at the barn, so it's not in flood threat, but the road between.
Yeah.
The road between. So long story short, what I'm trying to say is we're going to take the 235 back over the hill to the floodwaters. We're going to try to get Bubba Dump back up the hill on high ground in the shop because we got some modifications we need to make, and that's the only thing we can do right now because everything's underwater.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
So on this machine here, your guys' camera mount is a little farther in front of me. I'm not sure if you guys like that or not. I feel like you guys got a better view of what's going on, but you don't get to see my pretty face. All right, we're gonna take this rock. This is kind of our test rock here, just to kind of see what this machine's got. As you can obviously tell, it handles it pretty well. We're gonna put this over here, back out of the way. And we're gonna head back down over the hill and see how high the water is and see if we can get See if we get old Bubba Dump back up the hill. Yeah, oh boy, as you guys can tell, the water has come up quite a bit. We're gonna try to clear out a few trees here right along the edge of the field. These are all junk trees anyways. Hopefully we can we only got to get about 25-30 feet here. We should be able to get back up onto some dry ground. Hopefully we can get over to Bubba Dump and we can get it down here through the water.
Nothing like taking a brand new machine for a swim.
All right, man, behind the scenes, we took quite the adventure through the woods to get to the other side just to see how doable this actually was. That is the real estate we got to work with right there, bud.
Yeah. Ain't much, but there is something there.
There is something there. So I need to get about a what? You can see the machine down there if you look real close. I need to get what, another
50 foot, and then I think
50 foot. So you want to just take the Ranger down this way to the backside?
yeah, you walk through it.
Yeah.
Actually, you can walk through and show them where the old road was.
Yeah, I was stuck down there yesterday. Good thing we got her out.
Yeah.
It's now or never. Treat you like a dead gunner yesterday. Throw you around like a rag doll.
Yeah.
The good news is this falls off slowly, so it takes a while for it to get deep. Oh boy, now what we do? We got decisions to make. We going through it?
Oh boy, this gonna feel good, isn't it?
I didn't feel anything. How about you?
Yeah, you wouldn't do this to your side by side. You'll do it to Janice though.
Maybe. Ditch here. How deep do you think the ditch is?
Oh, I'm on the upside, so I don't think I'll get wet.
We're so close. We're going for it. Hang on.
I'm glad the belt didn't start slipping until we got out of it.
Me and you both. Woo, that was close. We made it though. Wonder if I can go up and around right there.
Oh, if you can get through there.
Get a high water road in there?
That's what I'm looking for, a high water road.
All right, let me go get the machine and start coming back to you.
Yeah, good idea. All right. I believe right there where his bucket's at now, I think he's going to divert that trail and come right up through here, and we're going to make a high water road here. So when it floods, if it ever does this again, we got to get down there, we can just come right up through here. Yeah, there's a, I know you probably can't see it, but there is a huge rock right there. Oh, that was a rock. That's a big rock. Oh, I seen that. Yeah, just replant that. There you go.
Well, hey, what do you think about high water road?
That's right, we got it now. All right, looks like we're still gonna have to go through a little bit of water here. I think I'll be able to ride the bank a little bit. He said it don't drop off that bad. Seeing the whole right side track underwater, I think it drops off quicker than he says. I think he set me up for failure here, but it is a lot better than what we had versus the road 40 foot out there. I think it's pretty deep there. I think it's about 6-7 foot deep. But yeah, hopefully we can get through this and get that truck out of here. All right, made it to dry land.
Okay, that thing's fast and powerful.
Yeah.
I like it.
You like it, huh?
I like it a lot. I'm gonna have to learn how to tame the beast, but I can handle that. I can handle that. All right, I'm talking fast because we need to go fast. This water is coming up ridiculously fast. They changed the crest again. We're getting even more water. We're gonna be underwater in a couple hours.
Yeah.
I still think this is our best way out of here. We're gonna make a run for it.
It's the only way out of here.
I guess if everything goes to, you know, where in a handbasket, we'll just pull Bubba Dump up in the woods and park it for a week.
Yeah.
All right, let's get her fired up, and I say we come down here. We'll go ahead and get you hooked up. I want to stay tied to you. I think your goal is going to be to hug the trees as tight as you can. I think if you can keep one set of tires out of the water, and if you start spinning, just let me kind of pull you.
Yeah.
We'll walk our way back out of here. All right.
All right, here we go.
Let's hope we don't go swimming, man, behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't want to go swimming.
We can't stay here and talk about it. We got to go because the water's coming up fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only word of advice I got is hug the woods as tight as you can, and if you think you're gonna go underwater, hold your nose. All right, the goal is gonna be to keep airing. As tight to the woods as we can. I'm gonna try to follow my tracks that I come in here on. Keep my boom offset. We can try to keep him uphill the best we can. keeps breaking. Come on, Bubba. I think you're stuck in that ditch right there. Think you can get turned going up in the woods? I think at that point it might be best for me to get behind you and push you. All right, guys, we just about got it. This is quite the adventure as usual. I dug a little trench right here. Hopefully Aaron's tire will drop down into that, kind of keep that truck from sliding downhill. I need to get around behind him so I can push him up through this section. Hopefully. All right, this is our last obstacle coming out of our high water road right here. Come on, Bubba. So close, come on, baby. I'm behind the scenes. I don't know why you ever let me take this truck over the hill in the first place.
Well, if you would have called me and asked my permission, I would not have granted you permission to take it down there and haul turkey poop.
I'm not gonna say you're right, but you're right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, can we say this much though? Everything survived without damage except for one radio. I don't want to talk about it.
And a good mic.
And a Yankum rope.
And a Yankum rope.
Poor Yankum rope's like in 9 pieces at this point. Hey, what about the old 235 though?
Hey, not bad.
That thing's gonna be all right.
Yeah, I thought you lost it.
Well, let me tell you.
Took off sliding. I don't know if you had that on film or not. You took off sliding in the water that wasn't real deep.
It started coming in the floorboard. Hey, there's still warranty on it. Don't tell me about that part. All right. No, that 235, she's got some giddy up.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's good.
Okay. All right. Adventure is over for the day.
Yeah.
Appreciate John and Diamond and Hyundai coming down, getting that thing fine-tuned in, because little did we know we actually needed it. I'm gonna get the crap spread out of the bed on this thing so we can get it in the shop for tomorrow. And we're gonna call it. Tell them bye, man, behind the scenes.
See you guys.
If your travels take you through southern Indiana or just looking for a unique destination, everybody is always welcome here at the world famous Derby Market and the home headquarters of the Dirt Perfect operation. No guarantees you'll catch Aaron or myself, but feel free to take all the pictures you like. Just for obvious reasons, please don't climb on or in any of the equipment. And most importantly, please tag us on all the social platforms, including the Derby Market. Before you head out, take a quick trip inside, look around, and locate the Dirt Perfect Visitors Map. Be sure you pin the location you traveled from and enter the Dirt Perfect Visitors drawing for a chance to win some Dirt Perfect merch. As always, guys, thank you for watching and supporting this channel. It means the world, and we shall catch you on the next one.